I want to talk about Batman the Detective. So I bought this in its original 6-issue run back when it came out last year, and I enjoyed it so much. I wanted a copy of the first kind of trade paperback, or hardback, I should say, because as I say, I think it's a really good story. I think it's one of those stories that it is quite good for the uninitiated, to kind of quote Bane a little bit. But yeah, if you're new to Batman comic books and you want a story just to kind of get you into the world, I would say this is a pretty good story. There are elements in here that you might need to be quite versed in some comic lore in order to know certain characters. What those characters do within the context of this story allow you to kind of just take them at face value. All you need to know is that the villain in this appears only in this. So so the main villain isn't from any other kind of story or whatever. This is written by Tom Taylor, and the artwork is by Andy Kubert. And I just think they do a really great job of telling this pretty solid story of a very interesting villain for me. The kind of villain I would like to see in movies. So it's this woman who has been greatly affected by the fact that Batman saved someone's life. And Batman saving this person's life meant that her life was impacted in a negative way, which is a really interesting conceit, I think. Just that notion that even though you do things for the right reasons, it could have negative consequences. And should that shape the way Bruce Wayne, Batman, goes about his business? Should he take a more kind of definitive approach to his decision making with regards to the people he saves and whatnot? But it's a question that's been raised many times throughout the Batman comic books, but I feel like it's perfectly embodied within this villain who goes by the name of Equilibrium. And I like the design of her as well. So she wears like a kind of her own version of the Batman costume, but it's completely white, which would make it's quite a striking visual. This story also delves into the history between Batman, Bruce, and Ducard, Henry Ducard. So again, if you're new to comic books, you'll know Ducard as the character that was actually Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. But no, in the comic books, obviously that version of Ra's al Ghul that Nolan created for those films was based on several different characters, really, which he kind of then put into his one version of Ra's al Ghul. But Henry Ducard is, in the comic books, he's this separate character who was instrumental in the training of Bruce Wayne on his journey to becoming Batman. And I like that they explore the history between these two men and their opposing ideologies, and the fact that Ducard was a necessary evil in many ways. Batman wouldn't be who he is without him, and yet even though Henry Ducard took him so far, Bruce and his own mentality had to take himself the rest of the way, to the point where it put him and Ducard at odds with each other. So I love how Tom Taylor explores that, how their opposing ideologies kind of get caught up with everything that's going on with Equilibrium. I love that the story opens up in England, not just far from me, actually. So there's just from the artwork you can tell it's set in Lancashire at the opening of it, which yeah, I really liked. It's one of those Batman stories that goes all over the world. We're in France, we're in London, we're in Lancashire. I like those kind of Batman stories. I'm a big fan of Ra's al Ghul because of that reason. He's very much like a Bond villain type of villain, and I feel like this story is very much a globe-trotting adventure. I love the artwork by Kubert. I like the design that he's given for Batman. It's a very more down-to-earth kind of street sort of Batman with, you know, it's not his traditional wear, the coat and the goggles. Feels very reminiscent of the Ben Affleck Batman from Zack Snyder's Justice League world. So having it as a graphic novel, I would say is an excellent way to get it. Do check it out if you wanted to get into Batman graphic novels and you don't know where to start. This is a good starter story. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's one of those stories that I think in years to come will be looked back on and may gain a bit of, well, I hope anyway. I would hope that it would gain a bit more kind of status amongst Batman fans, because I personally really enjoyed it. As a lifelong Batman fan, it really ticked a lot of the boxes that I look for in a Batman story. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Have you read Batman the Detective? And if so, what did you think about it? Leave your thoughts down below and let me know what they are. And thank you for watching this video. And until next time, cracking.